What happens when a Hollywood sweetheart meets daytime television's most controversial host, and things go so wrong it ends with a dramatic walk-off no one expected? You're about to witness one of the most explosive moments in live TV history. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment, because this story will leave you speechless. The morning began like any other at the DCU studios in New York. Sandra Bullock arrived early for what was meant to be a light-hearted promotional interview for her latest film. She sat in the green room, sipping coffee and reviewing her talking points with her publicist, unaware she was about to become part of television history. "Sandra, we're so excited to have you here," Whoopi Goldberg said as the camera started. "Rolling. Your new movie sounds amazing. Tell us about it." Sandra smiled warmly, her natural charm filling the studio. "Thank you for having me, Whoopi. This film has been such a passion project. It's about second chances, about reinventing ourselves even when life throws unexpected curveballs." "That sounds beautiful," Sarah N. added. "What drew you to this story?" "Well, I think we all go through moments when we feel like we've hit rock bottom," Sandra explained, her voice full of genuine emotion. "This character reminded me it's never too late to change your path, to choose kindness over bitterness, to build bridges instead of burning them." The conversation flowed naturally, the audience clearly captivated by Sandra's authenticity. But Joy Behar had been unusually quiet, her eyes narrowing as she listened. Something about Sandra's words seemed to irritate her, though viewers couldn't immediately tell why. Speaking of building bridges, Joy finally interjected, her tone carrying an edge that made everyone tense. "I have to ask about your recent comments on the entertainment industry. Some might say you're being naive about how Hollywood really works." Sandra's smile faltered briefly, caught off guard. "I'm not sure what you mean, Joy. Could you be more specific?" "Oh, come on," Joy pressed, leaning forward with a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. "The whole everyone can change narrative is very sweet, very idealistic. But don't you think some people are just fundamentally selfish? Some never change because they don't want to." The studio went silent. Whoopi shifted uncomfortably, sensing Joy was steering this somewhere unrelated to Sandra's movie. The audience picked up on the tension, the earlier warmth replaced by an uncomfortable electricity. "I believe in the capacity for growth," Sandra replied carefully, keeping her composure despite the hostility. "I think when people are given the chance to reflect and learn from their mistakes, most choose to do better." "Most," Joy repeated bitterly, "but not all. Some double down on their worst instincts. They hide behind their success and pretend they're victims when they're the ones causing problems." Everyone at the table looked at Joy with concern. Wasn't typical interview behavior, even for the show's confrontational format. Something personal was driving the attack, and Sandra tried to understand what she had stepped into. "Maybe we should talk about Sandra's upcoming projects," Whoopi suggested. But Joy continued, "No, this is important. Sandra talks about second chances and redemption, but what about accountability? What about the people hurt while someone is supposedly finding themselves?" Sandra's publicist gestured frantically from the side, but Sandra stayed composed. "I absolutely believe in accountability," she said firmly. "But I also believe holding on to anger and resentment hurts us more than it helps. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing bad behavior. It means choosing not to let that behavior define your response." "How convenient," Joy shot back, her voice rising. "Easy to say when you're sitting pretty with your perfect career and life. Some of us face the real consequences of others' choices." The tension in the studio was palpable. Camera operators hesitated, the audience silent, witnessing a deeply personal confrontation under the guise of a promotional interview. "Joy, I'm not sure what this is about," Sandra said steadily, steel creeping into her voice. If you have something specific, maybe we should discuss it privately rather than using your platform to attack someone who came here in good faith. Good faith, Joy repeated mockingly. That's rich. Want to talk about good faith? Let's. Talk about people in this industry smiling to your face while stabbing you in the back. Let's talk about building careers by stepping on others and then preaching kindness and second chances. The other hosts exchanged worried glances. This had clearly gone far beyond a normal interview disagreement. Joy was airing some personal grievance, and Sandra Bullock had become an unwitting target for what seemed like years of pent-up frustration and anger. Sandra took a deep breath, trying to maintain her professionalism in the face of Joy's increasingly erratic behavior. "Now, Joy, I came here to talk about my film and connect with your audience. I'm not sure what personal issues you're dealing with, but this isn't the appropriate forum to work them out." Joy's voice cracked with indignation. "You want to talk about personal issues? How about your so-called humanitarian work? How? About how you use charity events as photo opportunities while some of us are actually trying to make a difference in the world." The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Sunny Host's mouth was literally open, while Alyssa Farah Griffin stared at Joy as if seeing her for the first time. "That's completely out of line," Sandra replied, her composure beginning to crack. "My charitable work is something I take very seriously, and I don't appreciate you questioning my motives without any basis." Joy laughed harshly. "I've been in this business for decades, sweetheart. I know how the game is played. I know how people like you operate. You show up to a few galas, write a check for the tax deduction, and suddenly you're Mother Teresa, people like me." Sandra's voice turned ice cold. "What exactly does that mean, Joy?" "It means people who think they're better than everyone else," Joy snapped. "People who waltz around acting like they're above the fray while the rest of us are down here, fighting in the trenches. You sit there talking about forgiveness and second chances like you're some kind of guru. But where was that forgiveness when people needed it from you?" The studio went completely silent except for the hum of cameras and distant traffic. Everyone seemed frozen, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. Production assistants frantically tried to get the producer's attention, but no one knew how to stop it. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Sandra said slowly, measuring each word. "But I think you need to explain yourself or apologize for these baseless accusations." "Apologize?" Joy's voice rose to nearly a shout. "You want me to apologize? That's perfect. That's exactly the kind of entitled attitude I'm talking about. You come on my show, sit at my table, and expect me to just smile and nod while you promote your little feel-good movie about redemption. It's not your show, Joy," Whoopi finally interjected, her voice carrying authority. "Sandra is our guest. You need to dial it back right now." But Joy was beyond listening to reason. Something had snapped, an internal dam had burst, and years of resentment flooded out. "Don't tell me what to do, Whoopi. I've been carrying this show for years while everyone else gets the credit. I'm the one who asks the tough questions. I'm the one who's not afraid to call out hypocrisy when I see it." "What hypocrisy?" Sandra demanded, her anger visible. "What exactly are you accusing me of? If you have something to say it clearly instead of hiding behind these vague insinuations." Joy stood up abruptly, her chair rolling backward, causing a collective gasp from the audience. "You want me to be clear? Fine. I'll be crystal clear. I'm tired of watching people like you get praised for doing the bare minimum, while people like me get criticized for telling the truth. I'm tired of this fake niceness, this manufactured sweetness that covers up the fact that Hollywood is still the same cutthroat business it's always been." "Sit down, Joy," Sarah Ann pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," Joy said, firmly pointing an accusatory finger at Sandra. "I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of smiling and playing nice while people who don't deserve it get elevated to saint status. You want to talk about your movie? Let's talk about how you probably stepped on a dozen other actresses to get that role. Let's talk about how you've benefited from a system that rewards people for looking a certain way and saying the right things. Sandra stood up as well, her patience finally exhausted. I don't know what your problem is, but I won't sit here and let you attack my character based on whatever personal demons you're dealing with. This is completely unprofessional and frankly embarrassing for everyone involved. Embarrassing? Joy repeated, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You think I'm embarrassing? That's hilarious, coming from someone who built her career on playing the girl next door while probably being anything but behind closed doors. The accusation was so personal and unfounded that it left everyone stunned. Even Joy seemed to realize she had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But instead of backing down, she doubled down, her face flushed with anger and something close to desperation. You know what the real problem is? Joy continued, her voice shaking. The real problem is that people like you get to coast through life being celebrated for your supposed goodness, while people like me get labeled as difficult for speaking the truth. Well, I'm done being the bad guy just because I refuse to participate in the fantasy. Nobody asked you to be anything other than professional, Sandra replied, her voice steady despite her anger. But what you're doing right now isn't truth-telling. It's just cruelty disguised as honesty. The words hit Joy like a physical blow. Her face contorted with rage, and for a moment it looked like she might lunge across the table at Sandra. The security guards around the studio shifted nervously, unsure if they needed to intervene. Cruelty disguised as honesty. Joy's voice trembled with fury. You want to see cruelty? Cruelty is watching people get ahead in this business, not because of talent, but because they know how to play the game. Cruelty is watching the system reward fake humility while punishing authentic voices. Sandra shook her head in disbelief. Joy, you don't even know me. You're attacking someone based on assumptions and projecting your anger onto a complete stranger. That's not authentic. That's just sad. The word sad seemed to break something in Joy. Her face went white, then flushed red, and her hands shook visibly. Sad? She repeated, her voice barely controlled. You think I'm sad? I've been in this business since before you were even relevant. I've earned my place here through decades of hard work, not by playing some sweet little character that audiences fall in love with. Nobody's questioning your place here. Whoopi tried to interject, but Joy was beyond reason. Double quotes, yes, they are. Joy shouted, spinning to face her co-hosts. Everyone questions my place here. Every review, every article, every stupid social media post. I'm always the one who's too harsh, too difficult, too much. Well, maybe I am too much for this sanitized version of television where we're all supposed to pretend everything is wonderful. Sandra watched this meltdown with concern and bewilderment. Joy, this isn't about television or the industry. This sounds like you're dealing with something much deeper than what's happening here today. Don't psychoanalyze me, Joy snapped, whirling to face Sandra. You don't get to sit there in your perfect little bubble and tell me what my problems are. You don't know what it's like to fight for every opportunity to claw your way up in a world that wants you to shut up and smile. Actually, I do know what that's like, Sandra replied quietly. Every woman in this industry knows. But taking out your frustrations on other women isn't fighting the system. It's just perpetuating it. The observation hit Joy like a slap. For a moment, her anger wavered, replaced by what looked like recognition. But instead of backing down, she sank deeper into fury, as if acknowledging the truth would be too painful. You think you're so wise, Joy said, her voice dripping with venom. You think you have all the answers because you've managed to stay popular and relevant. Let me tell you something about staying relevant in this business. Sometimes it means being willing to be the villain. Sometimes it means saying what others are too scared to say. And sometimes, Sandra replied with devastating calm, it just means being needlessly cruel to people who don't deserve it. That was the final straw. Joy's face contorted with pure rage. She grabbed her microphone pack and yanked it off, with such force that the wire snapped. You know what? I'm done. I'm done with this show. I'm done with pretending to care about the opinions of people who wouldn't last 5 minutes in the real world. I'm especially done with being lectured by someone whose biggest challenge is deciding which charity gala to attend. The studio erupted into chaos. Producers frantically debated whether to cut to commercial. Audience members gasped and murmured, and the other hosts sat in stunned silence as Joy continued her tirade. I quit, Joy announced, her voice carrying. Across the studio, I'm done being the lightning rod for this show's controversy while everyone else gets to play it safe. I'm done being the bad guy just because I ask the questions nobody else will. Joy, please, Sunny host finally spoke, her voice calm. Just sit down and let's work this out. You're having a moment, but we can fix this. A moment. Joy laughed bitterly. This isn't a moment. This is years of frustration finally surfacing. I've spent decades watching this industry reward mediocrity while punishing honesty. And I'm not going to pretend anymore that it's okay. Sandra stood slowly, her dignity intact despite the chaos. Joy, I genuinely hope you get the help you need. But what just happened here wasn't honesty. It was an unprovoked attack on someone who came here in good faith. That's not brave or authentic. It's just wrong. Joy stared at Sandra for a long moment, her chest heaving. For an instant, something flickered on her face. Shame or regret, but it quickly gave way to defiant anger. Save your sympathy, Joy spat. I don't need help from someone who thinks forgiveness solves everything. Some things can't be forgiven, and some people don't deserve second chances. With that, she turned and stormed off the set, leaving behind her notes, her coffee mug, and 22 years of television history. The cameras continued rolling as the remaining hosts sat in stunned silence. The audience unsure whether to applaud or remain quiet. Sandra slowly sat back down, visibly shaken, but maintaining her composure. I'm sorry your audience had to witness that, she said quietly to Whoopi. That was clearly about something much bigger than anything I said or did today. Whoopi nodded slowly, still processing the moment. Sandra, on behalf of the show, I apologize. That was completely unacceptable, and you handled it with more grace than anyone should have to. The studio remained eerily quiet as producers, finally, decided to cut to commercial, ending one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. Joy Behar had walked away from The View in the most dramatic fashion possible, leaving behind a legacy tarnished by her final, unforgivable outburst. What did you think of this explosive confrontation? Was Joy completely out of line, or did she have a point buried beneath all that anger? Subscribe for more shocking television moments and comment below with your thoughts on what really drove Joy to this breaking point.